And now, suspense.
I often find myself going into a movie with a nagging feeling that I'm going to leave the theater very disappointed. Maybe it's a sixth sense, or maybe I've just seen enough films that I can anticipate whether or not I'll enjoy it. Whatever it may be, every once in a while my sixth sense turns out to be wrong. It is a great feeling when a film completely shatters the low expectations you had for it. So with that being said, I want to talk about some movies that I expected to hate, but by the end, I absolutely loved. The first entry on this list is one that I wanted to get through as quick as possible, get it out of the way right out the gate because it is quite the controversial pick. Now, Avengers Infinity War is a movie I didn't think I would like. And okay, now I know what you're thinking. How could I ever think that a Marvel movie could be anything less than fantastic? Because we all know Marvel movies are absolutely flawless. Well, at least according to the fanboys and Rotten Tomatoes. But jokes aside, I genuinely had my reserves because of a little film we got before Infinity War called Age of Ultron. Now, Age of Ultron is not a terrible movie, but it is definitely the weakest entry in the Avengers installments, especially when you compare it to Infinity War and Endgame. I know I'm not the only one who thinks that Age of Ultron is the weakest of the four Avengers films so far, but I'm sure I'm the only one not afraid to say it. You know, I refuse to let my love for certain characters blind my judgment and give a raving review to a film that I thought was enjoyable at best, but kind of, a step down in terms of just the sheer epicness that the first Avengers movie was. For starters, the villain was very weak. And that hurts me to say because I absolutely love James Spader. But even his greatness couldn't make Ultron any less stale and one-dimensional. I also hated the romance between Bruce and Natasha that quite literally comes out of nowhere.
What? What the fuck?
The actors have zero chemistry, and their cheesy dialogue together was honestly very cringy. Finally, I hated that they introduced the character of Quicksilver, a pretty popular and well-known character in the X-Men world, might I add, just for him to die and serve as a plot device to further the character development of Scarlet Witch. So with all those factors, I had my doubts that I would love Infinity War. But luckily, my doubts were put to rest when I walked out of that theater just amazed at what I saw. The story, the action, the visuals, all fantastic. The culmination of different interwoven stories finally mashing together in one film was honestly everything I wanted. Seeing my favorite characters interact with others from different films was incredible. Also, I know many people will not agree with me, but I will stand by my statement when I say that Infinity War is far superior to Endgame. I'm sorry. I know another controversial statement, but I truly believe it. And I know I'm not alone in that opinion, but even if people are afraid to say so, I am not afraid to say it. Whenever I hear a certain actor's name attached to a project, I have one of two reactions: excitement or dread. I feel like that's how all of us are. We get excited to see a film when we see our favorite actor or director's name stamped on it because we're familiar with their caliber of work. So, whenever I see Jennifer Lawrence's name on a movie poster, I automatically have my doubts because I'm just not a big fan of hers, both on screen and off. But I'm willing to give any actor and filmmaker a chance, and I had always heard that Jennifer Lawrence had a couple indie gems before she went mainstream and boring. So when I came across Winter's Bone, I decided to give it a shot. So obviously by the title of the video, you can already guess that I think this film is great. The story is simple but effective. It's bleak. It's well written and well acted. Jennifer Lawrence puts in her best performance in my opinion. John Hawkes is also in this, a very underrated actor that I always love to watch. Jennifer Lawrence plays Ree, a backcountry girl who watches over her younger brother and sister. And they're pretty poor. and their life gets even their lives get even worse when her meth making father disappears after getting out of jail after posting bail, and which isn't surprising for a kind of career criminal, but he always manages to come back. But this time he's gone, and the real trouble comes in when Ree's father has actually put up their house as collateral to make bail and get out of jail. And if he doesn't show up to his next court date, the state is going to take the house. Seeing as how that's all that Ree and her siblings have to their name, Ree has to trek the shady underworld of meth-making country folk and dive into a world of like killers to find her father. The story is just incredible, especially as it unfolds and you figure out what's going on and and where her father is. It gets even crazier, and I loved it. Great filmmaking is on full display here, especially in terms of like there's the simple storytelling, great cinematography, and direction. And that's a lot for me to say because, like I said, I'm just not a big fan of Jennifer Lawrence, but she is absolutely great in this movie, and this movie is great also. So be sure to check out Winter's Bone when you get a chance.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Just like Jennifer Lawrence in Winter's Bone, an actor's name can immediately turn me off to a film, even if it's good. Unfortunately, Miles Teller is a name that makes me nervous whenever I hear it. I am not a fan. And while he's been able to put in great performances like in The Spectacular Now, his acting catalog just isn't enough for me to want to invest time and money in his projects. So when Whiplash was released to much critical and audience praise, I just wasn't ready yet to take the bait. Because time and time again, a movie is hyped by the Academy and film buffs, and time again, I'm just not there. I don't get the hype, and the hype just falls flat for me. Maybe I'm just not smart enough, or maybe I'm not the film buff that I think I am, but I will say that Whiplash is incredible. It's directed by Damien Chazelle, and it stars Miles Teller, who plays Andrew, a musician with hopes of being chosen by a very well-known and renowned music instructor. It doesn't take very long for Andrew to realize that this instructor is absolutely insane. Miles Teller actually gives a performance that's on par with the excellence that is J.K. Simmons, because let's be honest, J.K. Simmons elevates this film to unimaginable heights as the perpetually angry and perfectionist music instructor Fletcher. When he's calm, he's really intimidating, but when he starts screaming and hurling chairs at people's heads, he becomes the very definition of terrifying. So when you have a character like that, you need an actor who can compete. And luckily, Miles Teller was up for the challenge and was able to hold his own. The music in the film was also great, and the fact that Miles Teller was actually drumming physically himself for the film was a nice touch of practicality that makes the film feel that much more real. I love that. I love when actors can actually play instruments or sing or do what their character is asking of them. Always just makes it more immersive.
Oh my god. Nigga, what the fuck?
So the last entry on this list is the much anticipated and much awaited sequel to the cult classic Blade Runner, starring the great Harrison Ford. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, Blade Runner 2049 follows a replicant that hunts down other replicants and retires them, aka just kills them, basically. Simply known as K, he inadvertently stumbles onto a conspiracy that ultimately leads him to question his job, his superiors, everything around him, and his entire existence. K is played by the ever lovable and ever silent Ryan Gosling, who might I say is perfect for the role of a quiet, emotionless replicant. The guy can play the strong, silent type to perfection. That aside, Blade Runner 2049 is visually just stunning. It's up there with like some of the most like beautiful films I've ever seen. The soundtrack is haunting and just awesome and sets the mood perfectly. Also love that it doesn't have to depend on having seen the first Blade Runner from 1982. but you do benefit from seeing the first because you'll recognize certain characters and storylines, which helps immerse you into the world and lore a lot better. I can't praise this film enough. This is another gem in the filmography of Denis Villeneuve, who is a master filmmaker, master director. And yeah, probably my favorite director working now. And that's hard for me to say because I just don't care too much to praise directors. Mostly because for every good movie, a director usually has one bad one in their catalog. But to me, Denis Villeneuve has yet to make a bad film. This guy has an eye for beautiful shots, and the cinematography of his films is sure to go down in history as some of the best. I don't doubt it. Now you might be thinking, I love all of Denis Villeneuve's films, right? Why would I doubt that Blade Runner 2049 would be good? Why would I think it would be bad? Well, I'm about to tell you. And oh man, I can already feel the hate coming. I do not like Blade Runner.
What?
I never have and I never will.
What the fuck?
I have seen the film multiple times and I've seen each of its cuts. I've always been told that I need to watch like the director's cut, I need to watch this cut, I need to watch that cut to fully grasp the film. Different people have a different preference of the multiple cuts of Blade Runner and, which is the best. That's one of the things that puts me off about it. There is not one definitive edition. I've seen every version of the film I could get my hands on. I've even studied it and written an essay examining it when I was studying film in college. And even with all of that, I could not for the life of me come to enjoy it. Maybe it was the intense study, the hype, or maybe I'm just one of those people who doesn't quote unquote understand it. Or maybe it's just not my cup of tea or bourbon or whatever you're into. Either way, I just don't like Blade Runner. And what makes that even more perplexing is how could I not like Blade Runner, but I love Blade Runner 2049. I mean, it's essentially the same, right? I guess that's just one of the mysteries of the universe. I don't quite understand it myself. But what I do know is that I respect the hell out of Blade Runner for laying down the groundwork for what Blade Runner 2049 is, and all of the other science fiction films that came after that drew inspiration from it. Alright everyone, that was my list of movies that I thought I would hate, but ended up loving. Let me know some of yours in the comments. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I told you. You'd die for that.